All right. Hope you guys are as excited as I am. This video is about the starting point of understanding the signs, or in Sanskrit, the word is rasi. I'm going to refer to that word rasi a lot. Just understand rasi means signs. We're going to look at the 12 signs of the zodiac so we can start understanding what these signs are and what they may indicate. So first thing we need to know is we have to memorize this. We got to commit this to memory. We have to understand which signs are which. And so there's an actual order to these signs, 1 through 12. There's 12 signs. And so what we're also going to be using is, so now we're going to look at this. Okay, so now what we're going to be using here is we're going to be using what's called the South Indian chart. 12 signs of the zodiac. You will see that there are 12 boxes, and you'll see that all 12 signs are placed here. This is the style of zodiac representation that I prefer. Again, this is called the South Indian chart. And so it's this style of chart that I like. And the reason it is because the way it is every time you see this particular box, because the South Indian chart is always these 12 boxes in a pattern just like this. Anytime you see this box is always Aries. This next one is always Taurus. This is always Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces. It's always going to be these boxes. Just so you know, you don't even, if we took the names off of here, if we took these names out of here, it doesn't matter. This would still be Aries, this would still be Taurus, etc., etc. So now let's talk about what's the natural order of the zodiac. The natural order of the zodiac is it starts with Aries. Aries is sign number 1. Taurus is number 2. Gemini is the natural sign number 3. Cancer is the natural 4th sign. Leo is the natural 5th sign. Virgo is the natural 6th sign. Libra is the natural 7th. Scorpio the natural 8th. Sagittarius the natural 9th. Capricorn the natural 10th sign. Aquarius the natural 11th sign. And Pisces the natural 12th sign. So sometimes you may see this if you're looking at a different style chart, or maybe even on a South Indian chart, you might see a little box. You might see a little number in the box instead of like the symbol for Aries. And that number may indicate the sign by a number instead of by a name or a symbol. So a lot of times, or oftentimes, if you see a number 1, it will indicate Aries. And number 2 may be the indication of Taurus and Gemini. It can get pretty confusing if you see it represented numerically because the houses are numbered also. So the houses always change with the ascendant. And so I talk about that in other videos and stuff, so I'm not going to go into that here of what the houses are. But anyhow, so this is the natural order of the planets. So let's start talking about Aries, because Aries is the natural first sign of the zodiac. So Aries is symbolized by the ram. And what does a ram do? A ram charges into whatever it's going to do. It puts its head down and it just goes. It's very initiating. Aries is a sign about breaking new ground. Because if you break new ground, you just need to go forward with it. And you can't look down. I mean, and if we think about the fact of a lot of rams, a lot of mountain goats, for example, they are on these steep surfaces on mountains. They're in very difficult and hard to climb terrain, but they manage it really well. And they never think to look down because they're just going there and they're just impulsively heading up that mountain because that's what they feel like doing. That's a lot of what the energy of Aries is all about. And then we also know that Aries represents the head. So it makes sense. It's headstrong. That's kind of the energy there of Aries. Then we get into the natural second sign. The natural second rasi is that of Taurus. Taurus is represented by the bull. But it's represented by a bull that is like adorned or festooned with like ornaments and everything. So what Taurus is really showing is it's providing material security here on Earth. On this difficult planet, it is all about, because if you had a bull, what that bull would be able to do would be able to plow your fields. It would be able to mate with other cows, so it provides even more wealth, right? And then you could trade that bull has extreme amount of value, so you can trade it for so many things. And then when the bull finally has done everything it can, and then its time has moved on, it's time time for it to pass on to the next realm and leave its body behind. We use the bull for we use its skin, you know, we use its strong hide, we use its horn, we eat its meat. So I mean, the value that Taurus provides is of really giving material security. And then also we talked about plowing the field. So a lot of what that bull does and a lot of what Taurus represents is representing our responsibilities. It's about providing for other people. And also we have to remember that Taurus it's a bull that is ornamented, right? So it is about beauty as well. And then how does that tie in? Also, Taurus is related to the area of the body, which is our face. And what do we know about the face? Well, the first sign, if you see a beautiful person, the thing you first look at, you don't really look at the body and whatever, you see the face. And so much beauty is involved with the face. And so Taurus, one of its main indications, beauty and providing for others. Then we have the rasi, the sign of Gemini. Gemini is represented by a man holding a mace or like a club, and then a woman with a lute, which is a very technical instrument, which is about beauty. So I mean, what that kind of represents is represents our natural nature to just explore. It's representing the diversity of life, you know, of different paths that we can take, because that is really the nature of Gemini, is really about exploring our curiosities, you know, whether that be, you know, chasing after an animal and, you know, kind of doing what we have to do, or whether that is playing a fine musical instrument that develops our skills. And in fact, both of those aspects of using that club and of using that lute, those are different types of skills and activities. They all have two totally opposite paths. So Gemini kind of represents that, you know, exploring opposite paths and seeing the diversity in life and really exploring our curiosities. And since it's involved with skills, the area of body that Gemini is said to represent is that of like the hands and the arms and even the neck, because we're looking around to see our options and stuff. So that's the nature of Gemini. Now let's move on to Cancer. Cancer is the natural fourth rasi, and with Cancer, it's represented by the crab. And what do we know about crabs? Well, crabs can live on land, crabs can live in the ocean, and we know that there's hermit crabs even that can take on whatever object they want for their shell. Whether that's, you know, like literally a shell in the ocean, or maybe they could find a soda can. That might be that might become their shell. Which that's kind of really sad to think about all that stuff in the ocean. Anyhow, let's not even go there. So Cancer is about adapting. Cancer is about adapting to our surroundings, taking whatever we have that is around us so that we feel good about it. And if you think about that hermit crab, it's like he's so secure in himself that his physical protection can be anything, because it's like it's representing that internal like protection, that internal comfort in who we are as a person, you know, like starting to get that contentment, so we can go anywhere in the world. It doesn't matter. We can have anything over our heads, any piece of clothing on our body. It does not matter, because we're secure who we are inside of ourselves. So that's kind of what the nature of Cancer is. And also Cancer is all about it's a sign of nurturing. And so naturally Cancer is also related to our heart and the area of our body that has our heart in it. So that's kind of Cancer right there. And then we move on to the sign of Leo. Leo is the fifth natural sign. Leo is represented by a lion. And naturally, and the way that I look at this lion is I picture it's a lion that's up like on a ridge that's overlooking the plateau that is his kingdom. So it's this idea of overseeing and presiding over your kingdom, of whether that's your internal kingdom, your body, and being secure in who you are, or that's maybe your physical, whatever you rule, maybe that's your family. So there's a certain sense of being dignified here. Also, there's a sense of responsibility. So you could think about the signs can also, so it can represent places that are dignified. It can represent, you know, throne rooms, you know, castles. It can represent that sort of thing, any type of government building. But it also can just represent like our sense of self-esteem also. And so naturally, since this is Leo, I mean, what are the things that keep our body functioning? Well, Leo kind of represents our vital organs, you know, like our pancreas, our liver, our spleen, our stomach, all these things that are vital to our functioning, vital to our capacity in life. So now let's move on to the sixth rasi. The sixth natural rasi is that of Virgo. Virgo is represented by a young maiden who is standing in a boat amidst water and holding in her hand like a stalk of wheat and then some herbs in the other hand. So what we see with Virgo is about like is about health. So, and what is health? Health is about refining what we're doing, is about making things better. And that's a big idea because she's holding the wheat, you know, which is representing like healthy foods. It's representing, you know, herbs is which representing healing. So it's really a sign of healing and health and refining, making things better. And then we can also see that the part of the body that is representative of Virgo would be the intestine. And what does the intestine do? The intestine is the part of the body that absorbs the actual nutrients of the food that we have in our system. And at the same time, it sends it down the line through the intestine to go to the next process of the body, which is about removal, which that leads us to the next sign, which is Libra. Libra is the natural seventh sign, the natural seventh rasi of the zodiac. And Libra is about the scales. Libra is about evaluating things in life and finding what is valuable. If I do this, if I take this action, how is that going to affect me, you know? And so if you had 5 grains of barley, you would trade it for 5 grains of flour, or however that would go about. So it's about finding fair trade, which means that Libra is about it's about working with others naturally, because it's not just you now. You're looking at multiple things here. You're weighing multiple things. So it's about evaluating, finding value, working with others. And so that's a lot of the nature of the energy of Libra. And so Libra is related kind of like to the perineum area of our bodies, as well as to our large intestine. And so the perineum area is basically the balance of our body. It's basically the midpoint and kind of like the center of our body. And then we also see that the large intestine is about removing things from the body. So Virgo was about like, let's get all the small intestine kind of activity, which is like, hey, let's get all the nutrients, get them into the body. Let's make the organism healthy. Let's replenish, revitalize, restore, refine. And then Libra's like, okay, let's get rid of what we don't need, you know. So we're going to weigh it out. We're going to say, hey, there's stuff like the large intestine's job is, you know, includes the colon and the anus. So it's about getting things out of our body. So we're going to look at it and we're going to say, hey, we don't need those things. Those things no longer serve us. Let's get rid of them. It's about weighing things. So now let's move on to the 8th natural rasi of the zodiac, which would be Scorpio. Scorpio is like the image of Scorpio is a scorpion. So what is a scorpion? A scorpion is about protecting, right? Because a scorpion has a stinger, and so it's protecting what. So if anything goes to attack it, it's gonna look to poison it with its tail. So it's just a natural. Its natural instinct is to protect. And where do scorpions live? Scorpions live in holes in the ground. So what is he protecting? He's protecting what he holds deep, what he's got hidden deep, which is like your deeper inner nature, your feelings. Scorpio is a deeply psychological sign, and this is why. It represents hidden things in life, things that are just beneath the surface. They're not what's on the ground, they're what's below the ground, what's really going on, basically. So Scorpio also represents transformation, because once we get deep down, if we get in touch with what's deep inside of us, we can transform our reality into something greater. And so that's kind of it's a really good definition of Scorpio. And then Scorpio is also, since it's like about the deeper need, the deeper feelings, it's about like a deeper sense of like passion and love, are things that we keep hidden underneath all of our daily facade of talking about astrology videos and everything. And so the part of the body that Scorpio represents is that of the sexual organs, because that's what we use to connect with people. Because Scorpio is I mean, that's what we have hidden down deep, is like a need to connect with other people. So that's kind of the nature of the energy of Scorpio. So now let's move on to Sagittarius. Sagittarius is the 9th natural rasi of the zodiac. So Sagittarius is represented by, it's a person with a bow. It's a human being with a bow, and that's standing there with a bow, but it's got the back end of a horse. So it's like a centaur with a bow. And so what this shows us is the bow shows that Sagittarius is about direction. It's about setting goals. It's about knowing where we're going in life. And it's about, and since it's four-legged, you know, because it has, you know, the back end of the horse and the front of the human, that means that with those 4 legs, it's about going forward, you know, like a pack animal, like a horse would, and just taking off out the gate, because that's where we're going. So it's about finding purpose. It's about finding, setting goals, finding direction to go in life. And then since we're going somewhere in life, you know, the thing about Sagittarius is the body part it represents is the glutes. The glutes are the power that we have with our legs. It's how we run. It's how we go forward. So then let's go ahead and talk about Capricorn, who is the natural 10th rasi of the zodiac. So Capricorn is represented by, in Sanskrit, Capricorn is called makra, which is a crocodile. And what is interesting about a crocodile is that a crocodile has not changed its form of evolution in millions of years. I mean, basically going back to like the period of the dinosaurs. The dinosaurs went extinct, crocodiles were around back then, and guess what? They haven't changed form. Why? Because they've reached a form that is able to sustain in an ever-changing environment. So one of the things about Capricorn, the energy of Capricorn, is about finding a secure form, something in this world that doesn't change. It's about finding that and being able to be strong enough to continue on throughout eons of time because you're secure in the form that you've created. And then other thing about a crocodile is the crocodile, pretty much what does it do? It eats and somehow it mates, but that's not important here. A crocodile eats and it lays around in the sun. A majority of a crocodile's life, it's not doing anything until it needs to do something. So Capricorn is about, you know, is really about taking action when you need to. And then, so then the body part that Capricorn represents is the thighs, because the thighs are about pushing us forward in life. And that's kind of how we go forward in life. Now, moving on, we come on up here to Aquarius. Aquarius is the natural 11th rasi of the zodiac. Aquarius is represented by a man holding a pitcher like on his shoulder, and that pitcher is like tilting forward. It has water pouring into the top of the pitcher and then water pouring out of the pitcher. So really what this idea of Aquarius is showing is bearing the burden of what it is that we have to do, what we're here to do, but bearing the burden but helping other people, because that's why the water is pouring forward, is to provide nourishment to those around us. So Aquarius is very much about working for a greater cause in life, working for something bigger than us. So we're carrying the burden, you know, we're carrying this container of what it is that we have to do. And we're not doing that just for ourselves. We're doing it to help other people. You know, and the idea of with water pouring out, water's the most nourishing thing. So it's about making the world a better place. And there's a lot more to this. Like we talked about Scorpio being a very heavy sign and a deeply psychological sign. The other deeply psychological sign is also Aquarius, because Aquarius forces us to really like let go of our own personal identity and realize that we're just part of a bigger ocean. And like this water that's pouring down, this water which is all around us, which represents all of life or consciousness or the rest of the universe, everything, it's not here for us to take. We're not here to just hold this water. We're not here to just take these karmas, enjoy the fruits. We're here to share that with the rest of the world. The burdens that we have to bear we're supposed to be bearing to serve others and mankind, because we've got to realize here we're getting pretty far up the chain. We're up to the 11th rasi out of 12. So just keep that in mind. It's very, very, very important sign. Can go a lot of different ways here. And then finally, we reach the natural 12th Rashi of the zodiac, which is Pisces. Pisces is represented by two fish, where they're forming a circle. Like the head of one fish goes right up to the tail of one fish, and then that fish, its head is up into the tail of the other fish. It's kind of like, what it is, it's a representation of like a completion of a cycle. But it's like a non-stop, never-ending cycle. Like the cycle ends, so where the one cycle ends, another cycle begins. So it's realizing like the bigger picture of life, that we are part of something greater. And the idea of Pisces also is what it is. I mean, once you start understanding that, hey, look, you know, everything just leads, everything starts here and it leads to something else, which leads to something else. So it's like it can develop an attitude of surrender along with Pisces, because it's like, wow, all it is just a bunch of cycles non-stop. Everything is just done in cycles. And it's about being, and then if you see that, and you see that these are just cycles that always come together, it's like you could be, it can give you a greater sense of connection to the whole. And then what does this result in? This results in understanding. And then if we think about those two words, understanding, what's understanding? Well, what is standing? Standing is about our feet. So the feet are the part of the body that it's related to. And let me just zoom back here, because in Aquarius, the part of the body is the shins. That is the part of the body, is the shins and the musculature in the lower leg, is what Aquarius is all about. And if you've ever ran anywhere, you know that what gets sore, is it your feet? Is it your thighs or your glutes? Sure, possibly, but a lot of times when you're running or walking a lot, it's your shins that are doing all the work. And that's kind of what the idea of Aquarius is, working for something greater. And then Pisces is the feet, it's understanding. You know, it's reaching resolution and completion. Speaking of resolution and completion, this resolves and completes this portion of looking at the individual qualities and just kind of getting a really broad picture for how these Rashis work in the zodiac work out. So there will be a lot more videos to follow, and please check those out. And thank you for watching, and namaste.